Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for July 5th. July already. Council, it being 7 o'clock, I'll call a meeting to order. And we have the agenda before us. Are there any issues, concerns, conflicts? Hearing and seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. And with that, we go right to item 5.1, which I believe is Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a number of reports here tonight. Just concerning some operating items that we're looking at spending some of the COVID funds on. And the first report is about a operations center generator for the new operations center. That building is just about complete, and we're imminently about to move into it. And the generator that's being recommended would operate the whole facility if the power goes off. This building is also, would be one of the buildings we would use in an emergency type situation. And so the type of generator makes sense. It needs to run the whole operation, lights, computer equipment, other stuff. Being one floor, it would be ideal for, an emergency operations center. So, so a recommendation is to purchase a large enough generator for this building in the amount of 150,000 being funded from COVID money.
Thank you. Is there questions, council? Please, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm just wondering, was something like this, or why wasn't something like this included in the original budget as part of furnishings and equipment?
It originally was, but as the construction started, the construction costs elevated, and it was at one point removed. And I don't know if it was this level of a generator that was originally budgeted or thought of.
So in a sense, this is another part of the higher costs for the overall building. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I'm happy to move the recommendation on page 3 as presented.
Right. Is there a second? Okay. How have we decided on 150,000? I mean, is this I don't know, 50 horsepower generator? What
we got a couple prices and with installation, and so when we will have to put this out to a proper process, but we did get a couple quotations to give us a ballpark figure.
I see. So we haven't done the RFP yet.
No.
Right. So this is a envelope of funds that you're comfortable
yeah, but it has been based on
Understood.
A supplier giving us some pricing.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes, Councillor Inkster.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions about this because there are a number of pieces in here tonight that we'll be making decisions on spending from that fund. Questions may be similar, but what I would ask then, if it wasn't in the original budget, and this may not be this may be a difficult question for Ms. Douglas to answer, but if it wasn't in the original budget and we did not get restart funds, how would we be able to buy this needed equipment?
Okay.
Because there's a number of questions, there's a number of expenditures from those funds that we were lucky to get. Wasn't part of the original budget of the building.
So perhaps is your question really?
That's
If
my
we
first
didn't-
question.
If we didn't
about-
have the
yeah.
COVID restart, would we buy a generator?
So yes, because the rationale being put forward by staff, Mr. Douglas, fair rationale, we need it. So would we have to then have, for a number of these items, go to the taxpayer for needed items? That's just my first question.
Okay.
So I would say, through the chair, there are a couple of options. One, yes, we'd have to go back to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Two, we could have a generator that only fires up critical pieces, which isn't really the way we want to go. We did get other funds from the province that could cover this as well. So there's, 2 or 3 avenues.
Okay. And just my.
Part two?
Yes, thank you. I probably won't say much more on the additional items. It's very similar. My concerns when each are my questions. The next question I would ask through you is, with these particular generator proposals and or power proposals, what I would ask through you to staff is, how come when we do these proposals, when we move forward, when we talk about the environment and mitigation, we don't look at solar on a regular basis? And as battery technology advances and changes, those alternatives will make more sense.
I agree.
So why don't we talk about that? Yeah.
Okay, turn that to Mr. Douglas. And
Sure, we can talk about that. We can go out and source that and come back with a different report, which includes this as an option, with the option of solar/battery as well. It is an option for us.
Yeah. Okay, I would support Councillor Inkster. I know a bit about this, and the opportunity nowadays to get smaller generators with a larger battery, essentially a very oversized backup power supply for a computer, is actually quite commercially viable and economic, I'm told. So you might end up with a smaller generator, but a battery array that could deliver the same functionality. And then whether there's solar is another factor. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I appreciate the solar battery combination concept. I think it's a great idea to explore as well, perhaps. Knowing that, we've had facilities on the coast where solar systems have failed, where battery systems have failed, where generator systems have failed, sort of all at once. I think this is a good case of keep it simple, especially for, emergency management perspectives. And I believe part of the construction of the building was to facilitate future solar, should we be able to get grant funding or come up with funding for it at a later date. But it wasn't included as part of the original build because of the cost of it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I'm okay with those sort of counter supportive arguments by Councillor Toth. I think we should, with this, have a generator that can deal with any problems we have, and I hope we have communications equipment that can help with an emergency center if we go down that route, if that's the rationale. So I'm okay with the generator, and I just think that we should be looking at that seriously rather than this. That's been talked about for a number of years, solar on this building and others, and we really should be talking about it. It's an alternative that we should be looking at. So I'm supportive of this, and I'm supportive of the motion, but I think we should really be considering these with anything that we continue to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what I've learned tonight is this is an envelope, and then we've got to chase the best options, and I think we're hearing staff will pursue all creative, viable options, dare I say, including the potential of grants for certain things that might be possible. But yeah. Any other questions, folks?
Will staff give us an update on that?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the question is, will staff provide an update on the viability of solar? I just want to clarify.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay, so we did look at solar in the initial proposal. We were quite challenged to get this project within the available money that was allowed through the AAP process. So what we did is we wired it for potential future solar. So it's pre-wired for that. I think it should be kept in mind, though, the most likely time that we would need a generator is in winter when trees fall down because of windstorms and they take out the power lines, and that's when the power usually goes out on the coast. We all know that, right? So, and at that point, solar may not be reliable during that time of year, so we would still need some kind of fuel, hydrocarbon fuel generator. It might be smaller, but we would still need that just because of the reliability issues. Thank you.
Still some, but, and Mr. Yates, sir.
Yeah, but going back to the original point, we will make it a part of our design criteria in the future to explore all of these different opportunities, whether it be wind, solar, or whatever for these buildings.
Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, I've done LEED buildings before, and it's unfortunate that this was not a LEED building per se, because all those things would normally be researched and part of the credit system. But like you say, on a limited budget, I think it would be helpful and nice for the public and myself as well if there was a video or a walkthrough of the op center that you could present to us and tell us what is there and the possibility for being solar ready or whatever else, just so that people get an update on what it is
Okay.
as a new
That's
facility. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think that's probably something we'd like to do at some point soon, to working on it. Oh, okay, excellent. Okay, council, if anything else, you ready for the question? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Douglas, back to you for equipment. Anything you want to add to the report?
Thank you, your worship. Once again, these are going to be defined workspaces for the staff. And right now we currently have one largest bay and we're going from that to 5 bays. And each bay is going to be similar but different. And the equipment that we're going to need in each bay will be similar with benches, but different with regards to, whether it's compressors or welders or things like that.
Okay, so questions? This is fairly small amounts, and I think we can rely on staff to use the money expediently, but Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, through the chair. I'm just wondering, when you say going from 1 bay to 5 bays, was this project done with anticipation of population growth, et cetera, or was it, what were the parameters for that? Because that's quite a leap to go from 1 to 5 and to not have some of these things ready. Thanks.
Yeah, so over the years, there's a few studies done for the op center, and one of the last ones was a space requirement, basically done by a consultant, and came up with the a similar design to what the final one was. But you're having mechanics done in 1 bay, to parks in another bay, and welding in another bay. Currently we try and do it all out of 1 bay, and it's not efficient and it's not effective, but this will be much better.
And I would add, going way back, I think before some of you lived here, I think I'm right that the old Public Works location on the site of the Water Resource Center had, I got a picture somewhere, but probably 4 bays. So, so in that sense, we've been perhaps undersized over the last 9 years, 10 years. Yeah.
And we have to understand that we've been operating out of a temporary facility. That's why there's only 1 at this point.
Okay. Right. Did I get a motion just before I let you speak? Would you like to do the motion and then speak, or would you like to speak?
I'd like to ask a question.
Please.
Thank you. Recognizing the 42,000 is being proposed to be funded from the Safe Restart grant as well. I just wondering what other funding sources staff considered, and what makes the COVID funds most applicable for this set of purchases. Thanks.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. We have very limited funds in our general reserve at this point. We have some new funds we received from the province on, I can't remember the name of the fund right now, Building Community Fund.
Growing.
And so those, were all looked at. The COVID funds, they're number one, they're needing to be spent. Is number one. Number two, this is, staff related workspaces and equipment. And so that's where I see the tie.
Okay,
Thank you. And thank you for that, because recognizing that we did also fund office space rearrangement upstairs, it ties it together for me. So I'm willing to move the recommendation on page 5 as presented. Thank you.
thank you. Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. HVAC system upgrades, pages 8 to 10. And again, the busy Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Worship. Once again, this is relative to the COVID reopening. We did about a year and a half maybe ago, we did some improvements to our current HVAC system. And when we did them, they were defined as what was going to happen. And during that process, they found that there's other pieces of equipment in the system that were either near their end of useful life or over their useful life, which include sensors, some fans that are within the system. And so this is what I would kind of classify as a phase 2 of improving the environment airflow in not only this building, but the RCMP Justice Building as well.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps to, yes, Councillor Toth. Motion,
I don't see anybody else jumping up to make the motion, so I will make the motion presented on page 8 as it stands. Thanks.
thank you. Is there a seconder? Is it looking that way for, yes, thank you. Great. Microphone, please.
It's just it's a spelling thing. I don't know if you want to,
No.
you don't care about stuff like that. Okay.
No. Okay, the only typo would be if it said 450,000 instead of 40. I'd accept that one. All right, the motion is for 45,000. So on that basis, all in favor? Carried. And the sewer outfall remediation project, for a change, we will go to Ms. Lee, who's, looks like she's in the office, but
I'm remote.
yes.
Thank you. So
Please.
thank you. This additional funding is for the construction of the ballast replacement for the Trail Bay effluent outfall. $70,000 shortfall to award the project for construction starting this year.
Great, thank you. Council, any questions, please? Yeah.
Thank you. Looking at the breakdown on page 13, it looks like the $70,000 is effectively equivalent to the contingency. So it sounds to me like this is sort of money that we're setting aside just in case anything comes up. But if we don't need it, we're not going to spend it. So I just
Yeah, okay.
highlight that.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, that's correct. We've applied about a 25% contingency on recommendation of our consultant. These funds would be available through construction if something came up and we needed to fund it at the time of construction. And if we don't need it, it would be returned to the sewer reserve.
And given we've got a budget or sorry, indicative quotes, doesn't seem to be a lot of extras that might come in. So hopefully, anyways, that's a comment, not a knock on wood. I get it. All right, anything else? Thank you for that, Councillor Toth. Entertain a motion. Oops, Councillor Rowe.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm happy to move recommendation One, that council approve additional funding for the outfall remediation project in the amount of $70,000 for a total project cost of $485,000, with funding to come from the following source: $70,000 from the sewer capital reserve. And two, that the contract for the outfall remediation project be awarded to Can Dive Construction Limited in the amount of $281,250 and GST.
Thank you. And I see a seconder. Any further comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. All right, we move to page 16, and this is with our Chief Administrative Officer, a request from, I guess, the Sunshine Coast Regional District and the Seychelles that for a letter of support. Mr. Yates, did you want to guide us or?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Ever so briefly, at the end of the three group water summits we had between the various local governments on the coast, a couple of projects were identified at the end of it to pursue through the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund. It's $1 billion federal fund towards infrastructure projects. So the Shoal Nation and the Sunshine Coast Regional District are looking for a letter of support for their joint application to this fund in support of a couple of projects, two of them being the reservoir program from the nation, and the other being some upgrades to the Chapman water treatment plant setup. Thanks.
Thank you. And, procedurally, how, assuming we support this recommendation, how do we actually draft the letter or?
We'll draft a letter based on what the regional district has sent us as a brief project summary and what they're asking for us to support.
Any discussion, folks? Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Sorry, through the chair. Yeah, I'm just looking for the reference to the water treatment plant here in the report. Chapman treatment plant expansion of the Chapman treatment plant.
It's in the summary at the bottom of
Yeah.
the summary section.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what proportion of the funding that is.
About 25%.
Okay, and that's up to the SCRD to do that.
Say again, please.
It's up to the SCRD to do that, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
But I think the application, the intention of the application is it will be a joint and combined application for approximately $125 million. So they go together, or I guess we live together, or we don't together. Yes, yeah. Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, this is I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Yates. Then we go to 6.1 and we've got, this is before us for adoption. Is there any questions that anybody has from previous meetings? So I know I just wanted to clarify, DCCs will be paid by the applicant. Oops, yes. Oh, Mr. Halls, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I can take that question. Yes, the Telus Marina project would pay development cost charges as any other project, so that'll be collected at the building permit stage.
Right. Very good. Thank you. I think it's important that people understand that when they come in, that the public understands when a project comes in after the fact, they pay a contribution towards the infrastructure. So, Councillor Bell.
Through the chair, this is just more a curiosity question. On page 21, a local area service petition. Just the language where it says the undersigned does not propose that the District of Sechelt incur additional capital costs in order to provide the service to the owners of lands. Is that not just language that's in a normal petition, or I'm just curious what that means or why that's in there?
Ms. Olson, you're gonna take that, or?
I certainly can, unless the director would like to step in, but yes, it's a standard language for our sewer petition process.
Right. Essentially, it's confirming that we don't have to pay.
Yeah.
Councillor Inkster and then Councillor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Councillor Bell mentioned that because should be really clear that we don't pay for that extension.
Right.
At all.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. On page 21, I notice it says that the Sechelt Sewer User Fees Bylaw number 26-17, 2022, the current annual user fees are attached, Appendix A, and it says that the bylaw 599-217, the annual parcel tax is currently $274. I'm wondering what it will be for them. I imagine it's going to be a lot more than $274 a year.
Mr. Douglas.
Yep, all properties in the district of Sechelt pay 274 as their flat tax for sewer.
On the parcel, it's the parcel.
The
tax.
parcel, yeah.
So it's on the parcel of land
So
regardless. of
whether you
size.
own a home or a commercial property, your flat tax number or your parcel tax number is $274.
For sewage use, it will be different. It will be based on all their various
Yes.
uses. Thank you.
Correct. That's right.
So. Okay. Anything else? I think I said this was before us for adoption, but that's not right. Yes, please, Councillor Bell.
Just through the chair, just one other clarification under the Schedule A, which is page 23. So which category do they fall under? Under restaurants, cafeteria,
It'll depend
coffee
on
shop?
each of whatever they actually build.
Okay,
So for a couple of rental or apartment units or hotel units.
so that
So it could be
comes out
5,
of,
6, 7, 10.
gotcha. So this is just a
User
guideline.
fees.
This is a guideline. Okay.
No, it's per each unit. This is where it gets a little different than the
Oh,
parcel
okay.
tax. So if we have a restaurant, they'll pay the restaurant fee.
Gotcha.
If there's a dwelling unit, they'll pay another fee.
Thank you.
Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I'm just wondering if sorry, you're distracting me. The uses would include pump out for boats, for instance, if there, it says there's moorage. And also, will there be gasoline service provided there? And is that like a gas station type service that would also perhaps require more fees?
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I'll look to Mr. Hall. I don't think this application deals with the foreshore business activities, if any. Am I right?
No, we haven't got it. Excuse me, it's focused on their buildings on the land. As far as we're aware, there aren't any plans to add any additional facilities to the marina side of things, the water side, but what we're dealing with now is really just the restaurant and all the other buildings that would be constructed on the land portion of the parcel. They'd still have to go through the province on the lease for the foreshore and anything they want to do there. And they haven't done that yet, so.
Right. So the answer to the question is no, it doesn't relate to this application.
And we're not aware of any proposed fuel sales or anything like that, so.
Right. But if there was, that would come back to us anyways. So yes, Councilman.
Right, I'm just referring to on page 18 where the discussion summary says gathering space, moorage and marine maintenance. So there is moorage mentioned there. Maybe it shouldn't be there. Thank you.
No, I think the maintenance is onshore and the moorage doesn't in itself connote any fuel or anything else. It's moorage. Yeah, well. Okay. Okay. Anything else, folks? So I will correct my correction and say we are seeking adoption of this bylaw. So move seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Oh, sorry, opposed, Councillor McLaughlin, are you opposed, Councillor McLaughlin? Thank you. Very good. Look at that. We get to 9.1 and councillor reports. And how about Ms. Councillor Bell?
I'll
Oops, oops, did I forget something? Oh,
So I think you need to adopt
Thank you,
the
thank you.
bylaw.
nice to have so many supporters. So that was a motion to seek adoption of the bylaw, and Councillor Inkster, are you moving adoption of the bylaw? Thank you. And I see many seconders, all in favor of adoption of that bylaw. Opposed, Councillor McLaughlin is opposed, and the motion carries. A little timid to move forward. Is it okay? So Councillor Bell.
Very quick.
Bounce to Councillor
y-
McLaughlin.
yeah.
And Shepherd and Inkster. See the synchronicity?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so very quick, I just want to highlight that the parade was wonderful. Canada Day was wonderful. Great to see so many people out. And just in terms of the families and the kids, you know, sometimes you think it's all seniors that live here, but there's actually a lot more people that do live here. So it was wonderful. Well done, team, staff team. And we need more candies next year. Or I'm going to have to be a little bit more cautious in how I hand them out. So I'll be more like Darren, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bell, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you to the chair. Yeah, I think the parade and Canada Day was a big deal this year, a little more upbeat than last year, but still some solemn ideas about reconciliation and the First Nations, Seashell First Nations, you know, realities, and trying to move ahead in a positive way with that. With Gary Feschuk's speech was very moving, and so I also got to go to Gibson's and check out some of their activities, and it just was a very fun-filled, long, hot day. So that was it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you. I attended the Scredo AGM on June 23rd. They've proposed and accepted a slate of new directors, which I think will significantly strengthen the governance of the organization. So it's a very upbeat, positive move on their part. I'm glad to see those people stepping up. On June 26th in Gibson's, attended the Housing Action Table delivery of a report on just how desperate the situation is for certain categories of housing that are required on the coast. And I think some urgent action is needed. But great report put forward by Cover the Coast. And finally, our own strategic planning session on June 28th. Very happy with the progress we're all making there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. Councillor Inkster,
Thank you.
keeper of the candies.
Pardon?
Keeper of the candies.
I had a lot of them, and I usually grab that many, and I ended up with some, and that's maybe where some of yours were. But it's I'll tell people know why. I try to make sure that every child on my side, and that's why I lose the float, gets a candy, because they can't run out and get them and it's unsafe. So I make sure they all get them, and that's why I'm at the end of the parade usually. So I ended up with some. So let's just make sure we get a little more. Staff's aware of that, though. They're prepared to get more next year for you and I to make sure we get everyone.
We'll take the money from the COVID restart funds.
Yeah, if we still have some left, let's do that. But yeah, it worked out really well. And that's why, because I make sure that the kids get them because they can't run out anymore. And they appreciate it. Appreciate that we do it. I just want, also Canada Day, good event and good. Children come from all over the coast. I think that's what Councillor Bell was maybe referencing, is that there are a lot of children in Seashell, but they come from everywhere. This is a big event. So look forward to next year and handing out more candy. The LLU, a number of council members went to that a couple of weeks ago. I'll let them speak to that, but all I'll say on that issue is we just have to continue to be advocates, resolute, never giving up advocates, this council, for a number of those issues, homelessness, drug issues. It's not going away. We have to continue to do it. We have to bug our MLAs, federal politicians. Don't give up, because the issues that we went and witnessed, they'll never give up. So I just wanted to mention that. And I also wanted to mention, I'm trying to get a hold of the FAC, Ferry Advisory Committee minutes, to forward to this council. I've forwarded a few things on ferries. I'm going to get the FAC minutes. There's a good report in the newspaper on that meeting, as council may have noticed and or read about. It was a good report because a number of us were at the table and presented well. But the reason I keep forwarding this council minutes and or information on ferries is there's a performance, I think it's called a performance review, that there is in place right now.
Yep.
Pardon?
Performance term 6.
Yeah. And so I'm getting a hold of more material, and I think this council should bite into that if I can get enough material for us. The ferries is incredibly critical to not only the coast visitors, people that live here, medical, otherwise, because there's still medical people that are having difficulty to get in, even though the FAC lobbied for reservations for them, because they just can't get to the gate. That's how bad the ferry, that's how busy they are. Medical people in the heat can't get to the gate. So I'm going to get the FAC minutes. I'm going to get that performance information to council. I hope we can bite into it, because it's a really important.
Do you know when they're looking for input?
I think it's now or soon. Yeah, I think we have till September.
Okay, well, that's,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
we can perhaps discuss that at a future committee of the whole meeting in the next month. Very good. Thank you. Getting whiplash, going back and forth. Counselor.
Thank you. I was gonna keep it super short, shut the microphone back off again, but everybody's mentioned all the things I would touch on. LLU, good conference. Unfortunately, with Canada Day planning, I didn't have time to actually put together notes, so I will have more information at the next meeting.
Excellent. Counselor Rowe.
I've been sitting here thinking about the last couple of weeks. And one of the so basically I have a message for my colleagues up here. As many of you know, I spent like over a decade dealing with being on a minor hockey board and all the things that brings with it as far as parents go, whose children are going to go to the NHL. And sometimes I would be doing the work and I'd be going, what are you doing? You could be just like at home watching reality TV. What are you doing it for? And I would go out to a Tykes practice. So like 4 and 5-year-olds. And that's why I'm doing it. That would bring me back. So in the mayor's absence, I opened the jazz festival, the Gibson's Jazz Festival in Seashell. And then spent the day there with a friend and Councillor Bell, and just looking at that beautiful stage and that amphitheater and all the people were just coming in droves, and the music was so fabulous that it's going to be a great summer in Hackett Park. So if ever you need to sort of refuel about why you're sitting up here, I would suggest the Saturday summer music series. It was great. So thanks for being away so I could do that.
Well, that's a very good segue. I was away. I wanted to share one of the things that I came back with. It's astonishing to me that you can sit in a restaurant in St. John's, Newfoundland, and right just at the next beside us was a couple and they heard me say something about Seashell. And they went, Seashell, we know people in Seashell. That happened everywhere we went, in Newfoundland and in Ontario. So I guess it's a testament to Seashell's how active we are in getting out and promoting ourselves. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And it was fun to see people go, no, it's, it's not pronounced Setchel. It, they knew. Part of my trip included, was included in a national remembrance ceremony where I had the honor of being on the floor of the Senate of Canada. So that was unexpected and a real treat. And spent a bit of time with the Green Municipal Fund. They're an impressive organization. They've got money and they're looking at innovation on behalf of municipalities. So look forward to an exciting few years with them on that. The prime reason for my trip was, and I want to tie this into a great week last week where I had the honor of representing us at various graduations. And we had several members of our staff whose children graduated. And I want to congratulate the parents for persevering to get their kids through school. I also want to embarrass the heck out of my goddaughter, Vanessa, who graduated from Queen's. And that's why I was there. Canada Day, something to of course, thank you to all the district staff and the volunteers, and especially this volunteer who Councillor Toth has been doing this organizing of the parade for the last 8 years, and well done again. Yeah. I also, as you know, was honored. Lahewus Lenora Joe rode with me in my little appropriately colored car. Who knew when I bought an orange car that it would be appropriate for a parade? But I was honored that she joined, and we had so much fun together that we decided to go around for a second loop in the parade. I wanted to end on a positive, but I guess having been across Canada, everywhere I went, people were talking about wildfires. And I feel obliged to remind people it's the smallest thing. If you listen to the news media, almost every fire that's been caused is suspected at least or known to be a human caused. The good news is we could prevent them if they're human caused. So I encourage people to please think about that before you do anything that might cause fires. And next week, council and the public, you'll be interested to know our fire chief is coming to present on interface fire issues and what we can do about them. Suffice to say, they are very concerned about that. Last but not least, tomorrow at the SCRD, there's an extended meeting in the afternoon. Oh, that's your line. Okay. On that note, I'll hand it over to Councillor Toth to talk about the extensive meeting tomorrow at 1:30 on water.
I guess that would have been a good opportunity for me to just shut the microphone off again. Yeah, everything water at the regional district, special board meeting tomorrow at 1:30. There's going to be a report presented on an update to the water demand analysis. That report at this point is 5 years old, so it's getting a little long in the tooth. The SCRD's Site B reservoir explorations, that's coming back to the board. General water update, of course, and then a motion for support for the joint application for this grant funding that we're looking at for the reservoirs and the Chapman treatment plant upgrades. Saw the news releases, so I might as well share them because I think one of them missed the Coast Reporter deadline. Stage 2 watering restrictions on Friday, but we've also received all of the approvals to operate the Church Road well field. So that'll be getting turned on the 11th. And Gray Creek is also being cleaned and commissioned, and they've got approvals to turn it on as well in the next week or so. So that'll be between those two, another 7.6 million liters a day coming onto the system. I don't know if Councillor Inkster wanted to add.
Anything for the regional district? Yeah, just lots of discussions tomorrow, and the mayor didn't say, but he wants to be there tomorrow to sit at the table to be part of the water discussion. So it'll be Councillor Toth and Mayor Henderson at that table tomorrow at those tables to go through those issues and ask the questions on those issues that as they're presented on the water issue. The really important continuous water issue. Glad to hear though that the fire department's coming, by the way, finally to talk about that. I think a couple of council members have asked about it. And as I end the regional district piece, because we'll have more to report going forward, 3 of us, it looks like, on water, the next council meeting. I think it's good that Councillor Rowe points out, you know, the volunteer stuff that we do for our community. And I guess that's why I stayed on the soccer board, the community schools, and did reffing for the lacrosse association for the 1 to 2 teams when my kids aren't even in lacrosse. Until a week ago, I was the ref allocator to make sure they had refs to have safe games. So that's why you do it, for your kids and for the community and for those that do it. And that includes those that have done it on this council and somebody that stepped up to make sure the parade worked and other council members that are involved in the community stuff. So so council members, be there tomorrow on the water issue because it's a big meeting and it will introduce the church well and probably talk about the Langdale well, which is next. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Council, we then move to council correspondence. We've got 2 items. One is from the Sunshine Coast Resource Center. And I will ask what council would like to do. Right?
I think we're already doing it. Like I've seen it
Okay.
shared on our Facebook page. I'm not quite clear what we're really looking for with this.
Yeah, please carry on.
I'm just saying beyond that, I think we're already doing what they have asked because I've seen it out there myself. I see it on the side of Municipal Hall.
Yes, through your worship. We are taking action on some of those things as we were approached, but from the resource center through several channels. Just this item was sent directly to council, so it was just brought forward for council's consideration. If you wanted to support the campaign as a council, this is an opportunity to make a resolution to do so.
Then I'll make that resolution that we support the Do a Kindness campaign under the Poverty Reduction Project through the Community Resource Center.
Okay, thank you. So on my screen, I saw Councillor Bell's hand before I saw your real hand. So, okay, any further discussion? You're clear on the motion? Yeah, good. All in favor? Carried. And then the second one is a letter request from the Elphinstone Aero Club to provide a letter of support for their gaming grant application. Yes, Councillor Toth.
I think anybody who passes through the airport takes advantage of that terminal structure that the Aero Club maintains. So I'm happy for us to pass over to write a letter of support for that application.
Okay, and I think I'll take that as a second from Councillor Inkster. I'm a little frightened of what he's waving, but okay. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. I will. No, he's had his moment.
He's waiting.
Any, so we'll, dear, this. All in, motion to adjourn, please. Seconded, all in favor? We're adjourned. All right. Hello, Pam.